Hi everybody. In the last video I did an overview of Dr. Bredesen's 2014 paper, Reversal of Cognitive Decline, a Novel Therapeutic Program. We're coming right back to this paper because there's a lot here. This paper is truly groundbreaking and it was transformational for my dad and my family, and I know for other families around the world. And especially with a diagnosis like Alzheimer's, we've all heard how strong of a role family history and genetics play, and we need to respect that. But here's a paper, like many others, that reinforces that no matter the genes we're born with, there are things within our control we can do to directly affect how those genes express and things that we can do to drive better health outcomes. So getting back to that paper, 9 out of 10 patients with diagnosed mild cognitive impairment or established Alzheimer's disease improved and reversed their symptoms of cognitive decline and reversed their cognitive deficits. Huge, 9 out of 10. Those 9 out of 10 started seeing their improvements within 3 to 6 months. 6 out of those 10 patients had to leave their jobs and stop working due to their cognitive deficits, memory loss, executive function, dyslexia, dyscalculia loss, all of this before starting the Bredesen Protocol program. All 6, after starting the program, eventually returned back to work. Longest patient follow-up was 2.5 years after the start of the treatment program, and sustained improvement was still seen. What was the program? Like we talked about in the last video, Bredesen's first version of the protocol was the MEND protocol. M-E-N-D, for Metabolic Enhancement for Neurodegeneration. And we talked about metabolic being the key word here. Metabolic, metabolism. What is metabolism again? Simply the chemical process our bodies use to convert food, water, and oxygen that we consume into energy, ATP. We'll get into ATP in another video. Often when we hear the word metabolism, a lot of us will jump to thinking in terms of our digestion, our digestive organs, hormones. You hear, I've got a slow metabolism. My kid's got a fast metabolism. Well, there is that broad sense of metabolism, but at the most fundamental level, every one of our cells engages in metabolic activity. And this study, like so many others, reinforces that when all of our cells have more efficient metabolic activity, that is efficiency at converting the nutrients, water, and oxygen we consume into energy, the better the health outcomes we're going to have, right? And on the flip side, when we start to have dysfunctional metabolic activity at the cell level, we will typically start to experience worse health outcomes. So now, metabolic function is not only affected by what we eat, there are other factors as well that play into it, but we'll get into that in future videos. What did the MEND protocol consist of? The therapeutic program was in total 25 modalities, or areas of focus and improvement, where a baseline would be measured and set, then worked on, optimized, and then continued to be measured at later time points. We went over some of these in the last video. Some of the key areas of patients worked on were nutrition, sleep, exercise, vitamin D and B12 levels, gastrointestinal function, among others. But I figured we'd get right into one of these case studies presented in the paper so you could get a better look on the ground how this worked. I know most of us are too busy to read through these papers, and not everyone is going to want to geek out on the details like I've had to. So let me give you a quick run through. This is case study 1. A 67-year-old woman presents with 2 years of progressive memory loss. Family history. Her mother had developed similar progressive cognitive decline, also beginning in her 60s. Passed away with diagnosed dementia. She begins System 1.0. That's on table 1 in the study, the MEND protocol, Metabolic Enhancement for Neurodegeneration, and within 3 months starts improving, returns back to work. 2.5 years later, at the age of 70, she remains asymptomatic and continues to work full-time. Okay, here's a quick overview of what she did on a daily basis. I'm going to leave out the dosages. You'll see those when you read through the paper. I'll include in the description again. So, 1. She eliminated all simple carbohydrates, leading to a weight loss of 20 pounds. 2. She eliminated gluten and processed food from her diet and increased vegetables, fruits, and non-farm fish. 3. In order to reduce stress, she began yoga. 4. As a second measure to reduce stress, she began to meditate for 20 minutes twice per day. 5. She took melatonin every day. 6. She increased her sleep from 4 to 5 hours per night to 7 to 8 hours per night. 7, she took methylcobalamin, that's methyl B12, every day. 8, she took vitamin D3 every day. Okay, 9, she took fish oil every day. 10, she took CoQ10, that's coenzyme Q10, each day. 11, she optimized her oral hygiene using an electric flosser and an electric toothbrush. 12, she reinstated hormone replacement therapy. 13, she fasted for a minimum of 12 hours between dinner and breakfast and a minimum of 3 hours between dinner and bedtime. 14, she exercised for a minimum of 30 minutes, 4 to 6 days a week. Now, not everyone's program is going to look like this because protocols are personalized to everyone, taking factors like symptoms, labs, neuroimaging, genetics, stage severity, among others into account. But this was a simple overview of one patient's program that helped her reverse her cognitive decline. So is buying an electric flosser going to reverse cognitive issues? Probably not, right? But like we talked about in the last video, it was improving all of these areas together that helped these patients turn on their body's endogenous capacity to heal and repair itself. Not just one thing or one pill, but a combination program. So I'm linking that paper down in the description below again. Take a look at Table 1. Take a look at Patient 1's case study. And I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about this paper? What do you think about this case study in the program? Also, I started that Facebook group community where I'll be posting more information and we can all learn from each other. Online communities like these have been tremendously helpful for my dad and my family, so I hope to make this another added resource for all of us. The link to the group is down in the description below. And remember, I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD. I'm a caregiver and citizen researcher on the ground helping a loved one, someone just like you. This information is for educational purposes only. Please consult your medical practitioner before implementing any changes. Thank you for watching. My dad thanks you. Hope these resources are helpful to you and your family, and see you in the next video. Thanks.